Good evening. Tonight we have one of the youngest, the greatest person, LaToya Dowdell-Burger, who's actually school board in medicine district. I do want to welcome community engagement with Perhan, where this engagement is all about inviting people with different perspective who have really engaged our communities, visual diverse in our state, whether it could be local issues, state law issues, or federal issues. So I do want to welcome one of the greatest person that I ever met for many, many years, who actually school board, who's running school board medicine, group city, group port medicine district. So, Latoya, welcome Community Engagement Porhan, where we engage and have a dialogue. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Are we live as well already? I did.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
I was trying
yes,
to share it. Okay. Thank you. All
yes.
right. Well, hello, everybody. Hi.
Yeah. So basically, this conversation is about the school district. We know many, many family members attending,
hmm
those who actual view later on. But can you tell us folks that who don't know you, Latoya, who you are and what makes you to run the district?
My name is LaToya Dowdell-Burger. I am an Army veteran and an HR professional with the federal government as well. Um, very much involved in my community at an early age, whether it was faith-based or just in general service. Have been in the Groveport community. Actually, it's funny since I returned. I was thinking about it again today. Every time this comes around, the last time I ran, my welcome home ceremony after my deployment was at the old Groveport Madison High School. Then to find out maybe about a year after that, I ended up moving out to that area, where down the street from where my welcome home ceremony was. So it was like kind of like a surreal, like, ooh, it was really a welcome home. And what made me want to run for school board, one is there are some things I wanted to learn and to be do better with my boys. One was gifted and talented, and at the time it wasn't a state mandate that gifted and talented. I don't know if it was a state or not, but I believe it was something like that. It didn't have to be at the elementary school. So I had to choose alternative education for my oldest son because he was identified as gifted and was not able to receive gifted services. And then my baby boy, he had a IEP or special needs and needed some additional support and wasn't understanding how all of that works. So I thought being on the school board, looking at like how the John Peterson scholarship worked and some of the other funding that the state earmarks for school choice and other students with disabilities. And there's also a committee with the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce for Special Education, and parents can apply for that. So I was like, well, this may be a way to kind of get involved with that and also understand how the money works because really the money drives the policy and vice versa. So that was the main thing. And I didn't see anybody that looked like me on my board, even though most of the kids look like me. So,
Wow, wow. It's a really. I worked a lot of districts. When a lot of immigrants who were settled in different districts advocate a lot of needs they were
hmm
dealing with because they're not custom. Know when somebody needs come in district, need districts is a challenging. I'm
hmm
glad you're advocating many people who look like you who actually have struggled with the district. Can you talk about the district portion of the students, like majority of the students, who they are, pretty much number wise?
Yeah, so we're 51%. I'm on the state report card because that way, if anyone wants to fact check me, you can definitely go to the Department of Education and
Yeah.
Workforce and pull it. But as far as demographics, our most recent report card just came out. Shout out to the staff and the team at Groveport Madison and our teachers because we are 3.5 holding and we're keeping moving forward. So even though, like, when I got on the board, I just wanted to shout that out. But 99.8% of our students are economically disadvantaged. That's number one. As far as any of the ethnicity pieces, as far as African American, Black, non-Hispanic, 51.7. And then we have about 20%, 19.2% of our students have disabilities. And then the remainder of that would be a mixture of, Caucasian, Asian, multiracial for the remainder of the school district as far as the race goes. So,
Wow,
yeah.
it's just huge. It shows that the number is unbelievable.
Yeah,
Uh,
we got 6,328 students as of this last state report card is what I'm quoting from. So,
wow, wow, it's a big
mhm.
number. It's just really, in terms of the baseline, the target. What are the two, three important achievement gaps you see? Math, reading, and readiness for students of color in group board medicine. What the semester by semester target will commit to closing gaps. Like we know a lot of gaps dealing with a lot of minority kids is really huge. So it's coming, son, as you coming in board last few years, did the gap? Could you talk about more the gap for like math reading or things like
So
that?
when we went over our report card, it looked like most of ours, and I'll have to go through
Hmm.
like each section.
Yeah.
Did seem like for some more of the math, there was a
Mm-hmm.
gap, maybe a little bit more for our non students of color. But on the English, the language side, it was not. So I have to go back and look, but we did go through each section, if memory serves me correctly. I'm trying to find it, but I don't want to not be
You're
engaged in
right.
the camera at
Yeah.
the same time, but around that. And I know that our we have a great team. We had gotten two new members on our team. And I know that they were working around with even in the high school how they kind of break up certain subjects so people can our students can grasp that concept. And I remember them presenting that to the board, where it's like you have the math class and then there's like a math lab. And I believe from what I've been hearing and seeing with our numbers and just hearing back from our administrators, it seems to be helping with that concept that they brought to our district and added that into the high school schedule specifically. There is some gap though with that K-3 piece, though, for literacy. You know that third grade reading guarantee piece. We
Hmm.
still have some work to do in that area. We're moving, but we're doing some more work with that. We do have the K-3 literacy program through United Way. They're partnering with us for 10 years with kind of helping with all the things, with that third grade piece being the key indicator and focus, and helping our students in our district where there could be other barriers that could impact learning. Also helping coordinating how that looks for that pre-K piece. A lot of times you'd be surprised
Hmm.
how many students come to kindergarten and they don't have that fine motor holding scissors, holding a pencil, because they haven't been in that pre-K environment. And we know pre-K is not free. So, they have between United Way, our administration is working with the surrounding daycare centers to ensure
Hmm.
they're getting the same information, which I think is brilliant. So again, kudos to our team for doing that, going to those local daycare centers to make sure they're getting the information they need to ensure our students, when they leave their center, are ready when they come to kindergarten. Still got work to do. I'm not saying it's perfect, but we're doing something to progress in the right way.
Wow. Specifically looking at district number of diverse that district and
Hmm.
the vulnerability a lot of family members are dealing with, it's a huge, you know,
Hmm.
but you're doing amazing to identify what you want to see. Because I do see you the only black in the boat, I see that who actually look like diverse of the district itself, majority number. So what you want to see change in perspective of you, what things you want to see in your core.
I would hope that we could also add more members to the board. Of course, I'm not saying like you have to be diverse to be qualified or anything like that, but I know we have others that are running, so I think that's great that we have more than just me. There's Miss Deanna Herbert and Mr. Larry Carey. He's also an educator, both are minorities. One is an educator, and the other is in the district as a human capital manager as well, a chief, like a HR director.
Hmm.
So I think it's great that we see more of that and more folks are wanting to run and get involved. So I think that right there is already enough for me. We've got more people wanting to run, wanting to have a seat at the table to help kind of navigate this space and further our district along, and where we find those gaps kind of help speak to that, where maybe the kids can't articulate, or we can kind of share our experiences that can then help educators see it just maybe possibly from a different lens.
Hmm.
So,
Wow.
for me personally, what I would love to see would be for our student advisory committee that we have to continue to grow like it has, um, and to really get more of the community. I really want to figure out how we can get our community to see us a little bit differently, and then work on a lot of things that come into our buildings come in kind of from the community, and how as a board collectively we can get out in the communities, because our district is kind of spread out too, so it's not like we're here and then we've got all these things. We're kind of spread out. How
Hmm.
do we go out into those communities, work with like City of Columbus and the sheriff's office and our county commissioners? Because I have Groveport Madison students 9 months out of the year, but City of Columbus or Reynoldsburg or these other places have those students 12 months out of the year. So how can
Hmm.
we make sure where there's challenges, are there resources we can share? Are there initiatives we can work on? Like we've got to get to that to be more creative to support our schools. So,
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned because I see a lot of this connection where the district is not connecting next neighbor's district,
mhm.
kind of sharing where the kids are borderline. Maybe they go here, and maybe next time they end up going different direction.
Yeah.
Um,
And a lot of
um,
times our municipalities are different. So,
yeah,
I live in Groveport proper, but my student can live in the city of Columbus, but we all go to Groveport Madison schools. So
yeah,
I may need to work out with Councilman, Councilman Hardin, President Hardin, or, work with
yeah.
the Honorable Erica Crawley, at the commissioner's office, just to see how we all three can figure out something and even bring in a Reynoldsburg and a Canal where we can then maybe have a conversation because we're all that southeast corridor outside of Columbus, but we get a little bit of
Mhm.
Columbus in our districts.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned, but also I'm somebody who always question about recruitment. When it comes to pipelines, what partnership local college, HBCUs, resident programs, professionals to teach pathway. Will you expand it to increase the candidate pool, and how many candidates will each pipeline produce each year? For example, we need to see more people of color on teaching on when we have large diverse schools. So, did you send us to the board? What's your pipeline on recruitment?
So I know when I got on the board originally, worked with all of the HR directors and they definitely have a good expansion on their schools that they go to.
Hmm.
So I know they do go by Central State. I'm not sure if they went by Wilberforce yet. I don't know what their education program looks like, but I do know they hit Central State, and they have the other schools. We have had and brought them in, not Central State for Black History, but some of those educators or those that graduated from HBCUs. But
Hmm.
we only have the two here, and I know that we do go to the one. We go to Central State for sure. So
Hmm.
every year,
Hmm.
but sometimes we're competing with
Wow.
our fellow neighbors, so they may have a better offer than we may have.
Yeah. And also, could you talk about? I heard you did some amazing in district, bringing more diverse line of communities every year. Can you talk about the program that you set
Yes.
with that? And it was amazing that I heard a lot of people really.
Yeah, so my first like year on the board, me and I was the vice president and President Libby Gray, shout out to her. She was my wingman. And I was like, oh, we should do something. It was in COVID still and we weren't out of the we were still inside. We couldn't like go outside yet. So I said we should do a virtual Black History program. I think it would be a great way to kind of give to the community and our students, and we did a virtual one. And then right after that, we were able to engage with the students. Decided, and we got the students to take it over, so it became a student-led program. And so then they would put on this huge Black History program where they have like we have about 20 something African countries that are represented in our schools. They did a fashion show, they did their traditional dances, they brought the music, we had the food. I think we had the Nigerian fork food truck outside as well. And they just really brought in all those pieces into the program. So, and then from that, the eighth grade student advisory, there was a young lady who she's of a Hispanic or Latina uh, descent, and she was like, "Can we not have something for Hispanic Heritage Month?" I was like, "Absolutely." And so they had their inaugural event last year, and this is the second year for that. And then as a district, we do our celebration of cultures night because we have like another like 20 something Hispanic or Latino communities or countries represented in our school district. So between that and all the other ethnicities in our school district, we have kind of started growing that. But our celebration of cultures event has been going on for 3 or 4 years every May. And the whole high school is just like this amazing maze, and you get to hit almost like something from every continent and a couple countries in each continent. So it's really cool. And our administration does a really good job putting that on, and the vendors, and it's for everybody, for so K through 12, and it's a great turnout.
Wow, wow. Those are things that really taking barriers in kids who came from different backgrounds could adjust and navigate and bring a different shine on the district, and
Hmm.
also share their value, culture, and learn each other and embrace a strong community, which is really amazing for doing that. But also, I heard that also you did some type of scholarships. You help people who really are lifting up, who actually want to go to college and things like that, which really amazed me. Somebody who actually minority who sees minority kids are struggling, although you have scholarship, but sometimes you might have short books or laptop or some type of and you can't afford family doesn't have anything enough. But can you talk about those programs that you implemented in your district?
Yeah, so this is just my personal one. I decided
Yeah.
would not take a school board salary and I would start and seed my own Burger Book Scholarship. If anyone knows me, I'm a bookie. I love books. I love the library. So every library levy or whatever, I'm going to I'm going to give to it because I think our libraries are important, especially when you live, depending on where you live, like that may be the only time you get to see the world, right? The library to me opened my eyes to the world. So I wanted to provide an avenue for students that may not have a 3.0, maybe they're 2.9, but they're working two jobs and they're keeping up with school because that's just their family situation. But they still need support too. They still need to know that they matter. And maybe they didn't have the straight A's, but they were doing all these other things and still, made it. They still need that support. And everyone isn't college bound. So what about the student that needs money for their trade school, whether it's a tire, gear? If you're going to barber school, there's a kit you need, or if you're going to be an electrician or a plumber, there's kits and tools and uniforms and those type of things. I wanted to be able to support all kids regardless of their pathway. And I did not want a certain GPA, maybe higher or lower, to be a barrier for them. So I opened it up that way. And then anyone who applied also receives a graduation basket. So
Wow,
yeah.
wow,
I
that
give
is
away about $1,000. I give $1,000 away, just strictly money to one student. But if you apply and you go to Groveport Madison High School and you're graduating that year, if you apply, I'm giving you a basket. And I use my
wow.
birthday month of October to fundraise. So when people are like, I want to get you a gift, nope. Give it to my scholarship fund so I can give more money away to my kids. That's all I care
Yeah.
about. Just let me give money away to the kids. Help me give away
Wow.
money. So
Wow,
yeah.
amazing. This is
Thank
very
you.
powerful that, making somebody's life lift up, make an
Hmm.
impact, which is amazing.
Hmm.
And that shows the courage. Another thing is I know the district has a multi-ethnic community. So in terms of the language, you offer uh, interpretation services and things like the nature, because I know a lot of families, kids are advocating for them to interpret the patterns and things like nature
Hmm.
sometimes.
So we have, of course, we also offer ESL because we're required by
English.
law to do so with for our students. But if we need translation or interpreters or someone to
Mm,
translate, and we know that our amazing, we have a great student services center, and we have more of a conversation and coordination between that building and student services where we could try to reach out and get those services. Also with our partnership with United Way. I know at one point when I was kind of attending the meetings, they informed us that there were translation and services available as well. So if they reach out, now if it maybe that we could advertise a little differently, I don't know. So if anyone is saying that they hear this and they think that's not
mm,
happening, please let me know. I just think it's a matter of maybe we could do better of advertising it, but from my understanding and what I've seen and heard, that is available uh, for our students because we are very much aware of the various languages and countries that are represented in our school.
yeah,
We do.
I know. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Really comes to down where also special populations, special needs kids that really come into
Hmm.
district. Family who trying to not know how to navigate also is a challenging for students with the EIPs and 504 or ELL plans. Accommodation used in class every day. How do they use that district, right? Make sure that they use those, folks who really dealing with IEPs, and how do you monitor that? Do you guys district monitor to see that outcome, or?
They do monitor, and then of course we have the other things that come out. We have our report, we have our administrator. I know we were also working on in our last, not our last, this past board meeting, but over the summer, we were working on trying to have an autism school,
Hmm.
with doing a partnership with one of our contractors because we have the space, but there's some things that we're going through the works to get that adjusted, because autism is high, and instead of sending the student outside of the district to a different school, we can then make sure they stay in their community with their peers, with their family. But as far as the IEPs and the success of those, that I don't remember, I have not recalled a specific report that we've asked for on that, but it's been more so ensuring a student who needs a service, whether it's an aid, whether it's a um, any services that are going to help them learn because of their special needs. Those are the big things we're looking at, making sure those things are in place. And if we have to contract out, if we can't hire, if we have to make changes to, our master agreement with our union, those type of things, we'll make sure those are in place so we can ensure those services are rendered. So I know that's been more the priority for me, and what I see on my level is to ensure those services are rendered if they need it, and if there are issues, working through the appropriate channels to get those mitigated.
Yeah, thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you. Because, because I do know, many, many families and people who navigated hard through that process. It was an easy
Hmm.
process, and, to move new place and having child who actually need that, help. Another one, those questions came from that different people. Hiring and retention. I do know I'm very focal to, hiring and retention, recruitment to retain diverse teachers and leaders, ensure every school has stable and experienced staff where gaps are largest. So, uh, what's your in hiring more a board to be bring more diverse teachers in your district, which is really looking to, the students that actually attending the school?
Hmm. I think the biggest thing, I'll be honest, everybody for recruitment purposes, teachers are a shortage. Educate anyone in education is a shortage. So then you have the looking at the population as far as what type, as far as their ethnicity is even available. I think the biggest thing is, I wouldn't necessarily say just ethnicity. I would say putting things in place in our district to grow our own, starting and getting them middle school, starting when they're talking about what they want to be and if they're interested in being a teacher, figuring out how we can cultivate our own teacher workforce within our student population. So I
Hmm.
think that's a missed opportunity because maybe there's a lot of students or students of color in this case that may want to be a teacher but may not see that pathway for them. And I think that's the other thing. So if not, we need to make that as an option. Maybe there's other barriers like money, like, you know,
Yeah.
do they understand the testing that you need to have or the kind of grades you need to have to get into that type of college, to get in that program at that school for education? So I think that's another thing, we have to kind of look at. And now that
Hmm.
we're on the right path with our academics and we're still growing that way, going back and now, okay, how can we like grow our own and cultivate those alumni and provide a pathway for them, early, and get them early to then get them in education, because I think we're going to have we have a supply and demand issue now. So that's why
Hmm.
they made the changes with substitutes. You know what I mean? You have some long-term subs because you don't have enough educators. And
Hmm.
then you've got the challenges with the federal level, which then kind of shakes things up at the state level, and then shakes things up at your local level because everyone's like, what's going to happen? And then retirement and just all those things are, at play if things are going to go the way it looks, if I don't know how money is changing and how they're funding public education and things like that. What does that look like for the workforce? So is it even appealing with the amount of legislation and changes that are happening that people may not even choose that profession because
Hmm.
they don't see a way to make amends for themselves because of the significant changes in the last couple of years? That's a concern for me.
Hmm. Hmm. A lot of people always raise attendance, or behavior things. I see people
Hmm.
always raise that questions, but what are the top attendance barriers for struggle? the students, because I do look at different perspective when I hear those languages. When I look, the family maybe have transportation problem, maybe they're dealing lack of resources, they're struggling. We don't come to that, you know. So, what are the top attendance barriers for struggling students? And what type of support exists? Transportation, check-ins, mentors. You know what?
Of course, we got the check-in piece, and we don't ever want anyone to go to the truancy route. But
Yeah,
and I know our administrators kind of have that, and we get there. Our district has our process and how we notify you via letter, or the school is also going to reach out to you just to make sure there's nothing going on. But
yeah,
as far as our students are a little bit older and maybe working and may have those challenges, um, I know our teachers, shout out to the high school as well, and our administrators over there, Mr. Altman and the all the staff. I know they have a great rapport with with their students, and they really try to connect and let them know that they're seen and heard. Now, as far as a specific program, I'm not for sure of a specific program for that. As far as transportation, they have busing, of course, but if they miss the bus, at that point it would be on the parents to get the student to school. But maybe that's something we can look into now and see how we can offer, if we can offer additional support after that, if they're not able to get to school. But remember, our district is kind of spaced.
yeah,
You do one route, high school, you're right into the middle school route, then right into elementary break, and then you're right back at the high school middle elementary
yeah,
drop off. So, and we don't have extra buses or bus drivers because there are some challenges sometimes with bus drivers and bus drivers turnover, just depending on what district you're in. So we have
hmm
a great group, so shout out to our bus drivers.
yes, yes. I do appreciate it. You know, those bus drivers who really do the best to pick kids and make sure that they deliver and make sure they
Hmm.
don't miss nobody, which is very important. Also, you know, I want to take a look at family partnerships. You know, school and partnership. You know, how often teachers communicate with actionable next step for families, you know, in terms of the text in home, language, quick video, workshops, how they actually, in terms of communication. I always looked at pieces of family partnerships in school.
So we have our social workers in our school. We have of course, our school counselors and our
Hmm
administrators. But as far as like we just have it's not necessarily a family partnership. I just think it's a school community. I would say that.
hmm
So
hmm
my girls, the school that they go to, we have our newsletter, which every school has the same access to do their newsletter. They have the text messaging and the robocalls, and then you get your each teacher maybe use like a class dojo to kind of keep you in the loop on what's going on in the classroom or in the building to attend some of those activities. And I think the other thing, as far as partnership, I know at least in my building that my girls go to, we have a great PTO. So shout out to our PTO because they make the things happen. I'm talking about we
hmm
got Kona Ice and
hmm
all the things. And I just think over time they've built that, which then has then built that community around the school. If our school puts on something, you're gonna have a hard time finding parking. It is what it is.
hmm
So I just think that's over time with a mixture of things. The engagement online, the engagement via phone, the engagement via the app just within that particular classroom. And of course, our students are always excited. Plus, you get your handy dandy flyer also in hand from your students saying, Mom, I want to go to this. I don't know what we're doing Friday, but we should be here. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I think a combination of those things that kind of give the school community, and that's more at the elementary level. I think then at the high school, you've got your sports and your other clubs like theater and art. Um,
hmm
Middle school, you start your sports there too, but it's kind of a little bit smaller because they're smaller in the buildings before they get to the bigger high school. So, and I think, PTOs kind of die off after fifth grade. You don't necessarily have a
Yeah.
PTO at the high school or a PTO at the middle. Not saying that we probably couldn't. I just don't think it's been done. And if it was, it's probably been a while. It's been a while since they've had one. But so I think
Wow.
that's the partnership I've seen, and
hmm
I will say it is stronger, at least from my experience. It was stronger at the elementary level. When I went to middle school, it's not as strong, as far as I was close to the school, but I didn't feel like I saw the parents as much when we had our PTO working with the school, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You know, I really, you know, see that as a big play in the school district, which is really needed.
Mhm.
but I appreciate, you're somebody who actually coming outside the NEMA, where mainly district represented by minority kids, and
Hmm.
now they have somebody who look like them. The families surrounded by everybody look at you, somebody you becoming might be the hub for the information. Everybody go get LaToya, go ask her, and you burned by
Actually, it
yourself.
happened. It
Yeah,
happened. It
I
happened.
do know that because you they can look at you, somebody who will be resourceful. They could simulate it. They could see that. Um, what's your message to the families? For the students, who actually reaching out to you every day for help or assistance. Things that you're doing is amazing, but what you want to tell the parents and students today?
Um, if I'm the same person. I'm here for every student, every learner, regardless if you are even in our schools. At the end of the day, they're still our students, because they're, especially even our high school students, they still play sports for us and things like that. I am for every student and every learner. I want everyone
Hmm.
to have opportunities. I want to bring as much visibility and supports and programs that help our students beyond graduation. Even if we could start our things earlier on and get them exposed to different career fields earlier on, like fifth grade, not high school. But I know we've got other things, that are priority first is getting us further on along with our academic journey and changing
Hmm.
our mindset, and then kind of getting connected and reconnected with our community around, so they see us differently. So my thing is, I definitely want to keep working hard, not just at the local level, because I will go and advocate at the state house. We did public testimony this year, myself and President Bauer, when the budget bill was going forward. Prior to going to the Senate, I did send letters to every House committee, Finance Committee member. I also presented a resolution, because that bill, if those things would have passed then, would have been detrimental to public schools. And I don't realize if everyone understands that aspect of it. And I think, I understand there's things that need to be done for real estate taxes and things of that nature, but the amount that was going to hit schools and we're already hurting, I just couldn't be quiet. And I'm thankful that I do have a great state rep as well as a state senator, that I was able to reach out to, especially when it came to before Governor DeWine was going to sign to send, message asking for certain things to be considered to be removed. And then even looking at the federal level, I'm out here advocating all the way down at the Hill about benefits and things that would impact, and figure out how the federal government can technically and do what's right, per Congress, the 1970 Act, the 1975 Act for IDEA. They still have yet to finance it at the percentage that they were supposed to fund it at in 1975. So when they don't
Hmm.
give us that money, and then the state kind of change, maybe not give us the same amount every year, their portion, the remainder of that for every student, since it's a federal law, it comes out of our money locally, when the federal government made this a requirement, but they've yet to fund it. So those are things I go to the Hill with others, and along another with another colleague in our congressional district, the 15th congressional district, and go down and advocate and have a conversation with Congressman Kerry's office, and maybe head over to with another one of our school board members in the state, to our other congressmen and women's office, just to kind of have that conversation, because all of us kind of are in that same boat, that if these programs change, which is with the farm bill or the equity piece with the broadband, because you'd be surprised how many families can't afford broadband, and they need the way technology is moving. If you don't have it, you're already leap years behind, from an educated standpoint, let alone holding a pencil. And we got to, and then we have to show you how to kind of navigate the technology piece and understand that it's important that we advocate on all levels of government for our students. And we know firsthand on this level. So when it's time to go to state, we could talk about it. It's time to go to federal, we should be able to talk about it and crosswalk that thing all the way back down. And so that's kind of what I do, just to kind of follow in the federal dollars and policy all the way down on how it impacts, and then how things play out in my district and how it's going to impact us. So,
Wow, it's amazing how you describe, because I do see a lot of family members, their kids, the only access they have is iPad from the school or a laptop from school. There's no
Oh.
digital in their homes, and there's a huge gap of, affordability, internet or things of nature.
Mm-hmm.
The only access they have is just iPad from the school, or that's all they have. And we do not recognize, there's a lot of gap or digital equity in our community as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but my question to you is for you. I do know this is you running an election this year as well.
Yes, I am.
What you want to tell the public, the people that uh, do know you, those who actually not to know more about you, Latoya, and
Okay.
I'll talk about you running an election. What you need to say, those who are watching today.
Okay. Well, I'm here to serve you. I'll say that, and I mean that every student, regardless if you vote for me or not, or your parents or whoever, I'm gonna still go serve and fight and advocate because it impacts our teachers and impacts our community. Back in the day, I won't say my day because I'm not that old, but then when I think about my mom or my grandma's day, the schools were like the heart of the community, and I don't know what's happened to that. And I think that is important to somehow bring that back. I know we've got our metrics and we've got all these other things, but how do we get the community back? And that's kind of where when we had my one of my sessions with the community clergy circle, how we bring the different faiths together, community partners together to wrap back around our school district in a different way. And then maybe there is that, like that conversation I was talking about to talk about policy to support those two pillars on the whole child framework. So we say we have this requirement on those stars for engaged and supported, but do we have what we need to have the someone to ensure that the engaged and supported is there? Now, I'm not saying we're not doing that through our day to day, but could it be better? Could it be more
Mhm,
intentional? And then would that change the trajectory or in how quickly we move up academically? So for me, I am here to serve, always trying to find innovative ways to provide different services, link people, connect people, have the conversation. I am solution oriented, so I'll be honest, I'm not going to I want to hear the issues, but I definitely want to also figure out how we can find a solution. How can we work together? How I can find someone that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, as they say, to get us where we need to be if it's not us. Like, what is it that we need to do to help our students? Because at this rate, they're our next president, they're our next senator. Like, that's what we're raising. So how do we make sure that they're ready for those roles? And we have the right people in those roles, and there's full representation in those roles. That's the other piece. So for me, on school board, I still want to make sure we're moving forward with our academics. So that was huge for me when I got here. Like I said, we were a failing school. There was a negative campaign that was ran on me that year with an F on my face. They can't say
mhm,
that this time. So that is exactly what happened. And I was appointed at first and then ran. So when I got there, it was like that. And I just, applied and appointed and went through the process. But I'm very proud of how hard the district has worked. Our students have worked their behinds off to get where they are, even in the midst of kind of how things are. So I want to keep being a part of that solution and that support. And shout out to our treasurer and our fiscal team, how we are fiscally and how we're saving money, like in FY25, over 5 million, 3.94 for the year, but overall 5 million total dollars saved. And he came on like late in the year in 2023. So it's important that we kind of recognize those moments as well as we're looking at the changes that are happening through legislation that can impact the budget. And we need buildings. So that's the other thing. I want to make sure I'm here so I can help be a part of that to help us move forward with getting our building. So there's some prep work I think that we could consider now, knowing what we know from the last election that we had. The first one we were close, the last one we were way off. So it's like a very rigid, but we need to do better with maybe putting together a good story, making sure those are things are very clear, and then figure out how to be more to share more information or putting it in a different way that the community can access it as far as what we are doing with our dollars, even though it is available on our board docs. Every budget is there, 5-year forecast is there every month for every board meeting that we have. But maybe we need to tell it differently so people understand it and they can then, oh, this is what they meant by that. Oh, I see now why, because maybe how we're saying it is not it's all about messaging. You just have to say the right words. So some words may mean certain things to certain people.
mhm,
Make sure that we can get out to ensure we get those schools because one of our schools is like over 100 years old.
mhm.
It was the first
Wow.
Groveport High School, actually. Beautiful building. It is a beautiful
Hmm.
building, but
Hmm.
it is a little older, a lot
Yeah,
older.
it needs more remodeling and things like that.
Hmm.
I'm really surprised, how you get there and how you really involved and change it. District overall rate. What's now it's 3.5 rate now in your
Yep.
district rate?
So, you said it again?
The district overall rate.
Oh, 3.5.
Okay, wow.
And we're
When
like
you get
1/10, as I think it was
that,
our innovation director. He was saying we're like 1/10 of a smidge of being 4 stars in the graduation category. And we've
hmm.
made like just there's a whole presentation. So if you want to check it out and you're in Groveport or not, go to our last board meeting on YouTube and you will
Yeah.
see the school board presentation going over our state report card in the very beginning of it. And it was just phenomenal. I did stand up and did a standing ovation for our team because they've done a lot of work. Like I said, I've been
Hmm.
here since 2020, and to see the growth we've had and consecutively, it wasn't just this year, but also last year we were at
Hmm.
3.5, which is meeting state, but that's a big deal when you weren't. So I think,
Hmm.
and we're on the right path to exceed state standards.
Yeah, wonderful. I mean,
Hmm.
it's just I remember how they run against you when you first, all those men now see, and I very proud of you what you have
Thank you.
done to lift, diverse communities who out there who actually sees you, somebody who's actually advocating and helping everybody. Everybody should be advocate.
Hmm.
But those vulnerable communities really needs help to show that they did have a case in the table, which if you have done an amazing job to make sure that everybody, on the table and getting information and getting the resources they needed, and they have somebody to advocate. We appreciate it. Which is this is going to be the final stage we now. Well,
Okay.
what's your legacy you hope to leave in medicine? What's the single message you want to voters to remember when they vote for you, because I do want everybody voting for you. So we want that being come back and stay stronger and have a
Okay.
more people who look like you on the table.
Okay. So I will say, as far as my legacy, I definitely want to leave that I was beyond the board. So it wasn't on the board, but I worked beyond the board. And I also worked to engage the community the best I could and ensure that there was an opportunity for better academics. And then the other piece would be the advocacy because that's that beyond the board. I guess that's part two. And then professional development. Like my legacy is kind of that as a board member, it's not just showing up on that day or you come informed, but you're also advocating not just from where you sit, but all the way up and back down. You got
Hmm.
to in order to make sure we have it. And I hope that with what I've done, that the kids see themselves. I don't care what color they are, what sex, or what their pronouns are. That they see that you can be anything you want to be, and that you are the change you wish to see. I think that's the best thing, and that's all I did. I thought I needed to see change. I wanted to be a part of the solution. I didn't want to sit back and complain and I wanted to be a part of the solution and get in there and help and see what needed to be done and then go advocate to do that. So from a legacy standpoint, and then for me is just for to know about this one that I'm for every learner. So whether you're the learner that is college bound, I think you deserve you should get the best education as well. If you're the one that's an entrepreneur, you are going to the service. I'm a service member as well, a veteran. Or if you're one that is wanting to go into the trades or deciding to go to hair school or become a barber or things like that. You deserve that. So I think for every learner, we need to make sure we have a place for every learner and every student, and then be able to meet the student where they are, but bring them up where they need to be. You meet them where they are. You don't stay there, but you bring them up to where they need to be. And I think that's the thing that our school district has done very well. We try to meet them where they are, try to meet their families where they are, but bring them up to where they need to be so they can be successful after high school. And so, yeah, I have my my Cruiser Voices forum coming up next Monday, where I'm going to be talking with alumni and any current students just to kind of hear directly from them. I've talked to parents, I've talked to some community members, I've done my own little focus group just to kind of think with that process with the community clergy circle and talking about possible legislation with that. But want to I'm talking to cruisers next week. I feel like that's the last thing I should do on my campaign trail. Like I got to end with talking to the very people I'm serving are the kids, and you'd be surprised they have a lot of input about their school and what they
Mhm.
want to learn and what they see. They have a lot to say, and I love talking to the kids because they get it and they will tell you exactly what it is, no filter. So
Yeah.
you better be ready in that regard. So yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing. I do know Latoya for many, many years. She's somebody who has passion, care, and cares about everybody, who really, like she said, you don't want to sit there. You have to lifting up people and make an impact. And
hmm
she's a word of action doers. I love how you're really impacting when you come to the district and how you're lifting up people who didn't have a voices. And now we see that you make an impact in the neighborhood. There's going to be one of the things, please, who elected, LaToya Dowdell-Burger, who's really is amazing young lady. You see how she's passionate about helping lifting our communities and our neighbors, and she's advocating for everybody. And she's not leaving nobody behind. That's the whole idea. Is we don't want to leave anybody behind.
no,
Education is access, and
that's it.
I appreciate it for you. And I said, like I said, Center for Somali American Engagement endorse you many times, continue to work with you and
Thank you.
support you. And those who watching today, this young lady, she's a champion. She made an impact our communities across the board. It didn't matter what color you are. It's all about people are going through the struggles, so they need somebody to step in, and you
hmm
show that, Latoya. And thank you for your success. We'll
Thank
continue. And please, election is open. People are voting early voting. Vote the early voting until November.
yes.
One last word for you, Latoya.
I just want to say thank you to you, Mr. Burhan, and your in the community as well, just for the support and allowing me. And anytime you need me, I'm available. And thank you to Groveport Madison for allowing me 5 years of service to serve you, and know that I'm approachable and reachable, and always trying to find a way to support. But again, I love our kids like they're my own. I love going into the building, and they're like Miss LaToya or Miss Dowdell-Burger, or they'll see me at the grocery store and stop me. So I just want to say thank you just for the opportunity to serve, because I don't take that lightly. I take it very seriously. Sometimes I'm up late, but that's okay. But I thank you for the opportunity, and I will continue to advocate for our teachers, our students, and public education as a whole, because it is important. Because
Thank you.
education is access, and I think that's what you just said. And I'm concerned that that access is trying to be kind of tampered with a little bit. So
Yes, yes.
yeah,
Please, if you're that area, Gulfport Medicine area, please, we have a large diverse communities across the board. Please show your family members and make sure you voted, make sure you make impact. This young lady, she's really about the mission, making impact for everybody. It's not a specific groups of people, but she's been known to make an impact. And thank you for her service. And we
yeah.
appreciate to continue for communication with Burhan. We'll see you, Latoya, next time.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.